Okay, so we're going to finish up this last section, which is the role of technology in the workplace or in the professional world. That involves both something which seems kind of obvious, that you could use technology to work remotely, which seems to make a lot of sense, especially again given in this time frame with the kind of the COVID-19 thing going on. But also it's the use of devices in the workplace to actually enable greater productivity. So there's been kind of development of this concept of an intelligent workspaces that uses technology to help workers connect to the company's network and each other, and also use productivity software and apps to be more effective. For example, like web conferencing. Some companies allow you to BYOD, which is like bring your own device, which means if you bring your phone to work or your iPad or even your personal laptop, you can actually join the network and use it for work. And then there's also online collaborative software, kind of like what we're using through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Blackboard Collaborate, which just gives you the opportunity to kind of work together even when you're not together. The net of everything here is just that technology is basically everywhere. I didn't go through and count all the different instances of technology in this little picture, but just imagine just your life without technology. And if you do have a job, imagine what the job would be like without technology. You know, it's just become such a part of everything that we do. And it doesn't really matter what field you're in. If you're a nurse, you're going to be dealing with technology in healthcare. If you're a teacher, you're going to be dealing with it in the classroom. If you're in aviation, clearly technology all over the place in planes and in the control towers. Manufacturing, we're just going to look a little bit at some of those examples here today. K through 12. So if you want to be a school teacher, if you go to, you probably, guys, when you grew up, if you're young, on the younger side of the student class, of the class here, when you went through, you might have had an iPad or maybe a laptop in school. Certainly the instructor or the teacher had projectors and ways to show you videos and maybe some interactive whiteboard software. So basically it's just leveraging technology to help facilitate learning. But again, all over the place in the classroom. Technology, that's changed significantly. Again, when I was younger, if you ordered a package, you didn't really know when it was going to arrive. You could say sometime in the next couple of weeks. Now with a tracking number for FedEx or UPS or the USPS, you can actually find out exactly where the package is en route. And there's even use of RFID technology attached to packages to help in the scanning process. If you go to some of the Amazon facilities, they'll actually have automated vehicles that are automated devices or pickers that are actually picking items out of the bins in the warehouse and placing them on conveyor belts. I had an opportunity a couple of years back to go to the FedEx facility in Nashville at night and watch all the packages come in at night and be routed through the warehouse, the distribution facility there, and then be put back on planes within an hour to go back and be delivered the next day. GPS, we had paper maps when I was growing up. Now everybody has GPS on their phone. So it's really significantly affected transportation. Just think of before, a package delivery person would have to make a decision about how to get from point A to B to C to D. And now a computer tells them the fastest way based on traffic. So think about how many more packages can be delivered. And more packages mean it's going to be quicker to you. It's also going to mean less money to the company, which means more profit. So really has a large impact on the transportation industry. Mentioned healthcare before. Just talked a little about mobile health. If you're wearing a watch, it's keeping track of some basic stats on vitals on your phone in terms of your heartbeat or things like that. Talk about, again, with this COVID-19, they're trying to talk about how to use technology to track who has COVID-19 or has the symptoms. 3D printers, they've talked about printing like organs. So it's pretty interesting. You just keep people on devices that are in your body that automatically look at your blood sugar levels and could inject the right dose of insulin to keep you alive. I put this in here because there's a story about someone who had an Apple Watch, the newer version of the Apple Watch, that had kind of the EKG level heart rate, and told them that they were about to have a heart attack. and they were able to get to the emergency room and kind of get there before they actually had the actual incident. I've read about some people who were in the midst of having some type of stroke, and the watch automatically called somebody. So if you just extrapolate there and think about going forward with more wearable devices and more ability to track, there's a good side. There's kind of a scary side of that about people's health information, but there's kind of a good side of that in terms of monitoring folks who might be at risk, or even someone who has an unexpected event, able to get medical advice. So imagine having a watch, start to have a heart attack. The watch knows you're having a heart attack, calls 911, dispatches an ambulance, knows your location because of the watch, and they get there within several minutes, or maybe several minutes sooner than before, saving your life. Manufacturing is one of the first areas that technology got involved in, because they could take things that were very difficult, that might get people hurt, or monotonous work, and give them to computers, so that would not only increase efficiency but also increase the overall effectiveness. Computer aided manufacturing, just I'm going to show you a picture of some different robots performing work that was probably previously performed by people. You can also do things like part ordering as its example. So it knows if you have X number of screws or nails or any other piece of equipment, when you get below a certain number of them, it automatically orders more, so that's there when you need it. And then this whole machine to machine thing is the idea. Sounds a little like a Skynet and the Terminator series, but computers talking to each other just to facilitate the line. Here's just a picture of, you go back in the 60s and 70s and looked at the same picture, you just see every time there's an orange arm, there'd be a person, applying either, I don't know, could be paint, but doing some type of construction to those cars, or some type of operation to the cars. But now it's all done robotically. It's on a moving conveyor belt that moves one to the other, and then once it hits a certain point, one of the machines or the robots will actually perform the operation. So, and they can work obviously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't get sick. So there's a lot of advantages that they do break down and require maintenance, but they're probably much more reliable than, generally speaking, than a human, or they'll do the job much more efficiently, and they can last longer. So that reduces the cost to make the car, which, if that's passed on to you, reduces the cost of the car, which means more people can own cars. So it has a positive economic benefit of that. There's some discussion about whether that has a negative impact on the people whose jobs it takes, and of course that's a consideration. But it also creates opportunities for people not to do this type of dangerous or monotonous work, and maybe get jobs that are different or be retooled. In higher education, which is what we're in right now, we have a learning management system, which is basically the Blackboard. So right now, given that this is an online course, you're using this learning management system to get information on the course, to get content for the course, to take your tests, and to communicate. Ebooks, that's basically Cengage for us. So having this technology, a couple years, I don't know how many years ago, if you just go back at least 10 or 15 years, you might have had some of this, but more than 20, you're getting to the really early part of the internet, it wouldn't have been available. So when we had, again, this kind of COVID-19 break, all classes would have been canceled, whereas you'd able to continue with them, or taking an online class allows you to work during the day and do the class when it's convenient for you. So there's a lot of benefits. There's some downside in terms of not having the interaction and with each other and with your instructor, but there's also some benefits with it as well. Okay, just really briefly, we're going to finish up here talking about careers in technology. And as I kind of said before, every career is going to involve some type of technology. So I don't know, even if you were like maybe just out as a carpenter cutting wood, I would bet there's a certain amount of technology, more than just kind of power tools, that you're using to some extent, maybe to make sure things are level. They're coming up with different technologies now for measuring. Instead of using a ruler, you could use your phone to do that. So there's some jobs that are still primarily, or they don't feel like technology impacts them as much, but all fields of work are going to be involved, use technology more and more. There are some things that are more oriented directly towards technology. So for example, if you're developing software like writing an app for a phone, or if you're working with technology equipment, or repairing and servicing that technology, If you see like the person who comes in to repair copiers and printers, they have to know enough about technology to be able to go in there and troubleshoot the system and figure out what's wrong. Sales, if you're going towards sales, because technology has increased, there's a lot more things that are technologically related, like selling software or computer hardware, or again, any of the technology we've talked about before that's embedded. So when you're selling a car today, you're actually part of it is you have to know enough about the technology to be able to sell it. IT consulting, developing systems kind of relates to that software one before. Web marketing, social media, you don't have to know as much about how the technology works, but you need to know how people interact with the technology to be able to plan a good marketing campaign, or say how a company could use social media to expand its business. Data storage, retrieval, analysis is getting much, much larger. If you've read or saw anything about Facebook and your personal data, how do they store it? What do they do to analyze it? How are these? Is it ethical for them to use that in order to target you? And information and system security, again, that's another big one with some of the, we'll talk about this a little bit more, I think, in concept module 6, but all the information that's out there today, credit card information, personal information, people steal that. They can learn a lot about you and they can leverage that to try to promote some type of crime. And then finally, even within companies, we talked more about the enterprise computing. There's IT departments. So CCBC has a whole set of individuals, maybe 10 to 15 individuals who do nothing but make sure Blackboard's running, make sure the internal financial and scheduling systems run, make sure laptops are configured properly and operating. When you call the help desk, you deal with folks in like the technical support area to make sure that you can get on to email and Blackboard and things like that too. So these are people who deal specifically with computer-based technology, either the software, the different products that run on the hardware, or the hardware and networks themselves. And again, you could become someone who's just more in the management role and planning, or technical support or operations, which would be keeping even phones. All phones nowadays usually run through computer networks, not through telephone networks, at least on campus. And then training people to use it and supporting people. Again, that's kind of a help desk function as well. And then making sure that all information that you have given is secure. So I'm sure when you signed up for classes at some point, they ask for your social security number. So that's information that CCBC has that they have to make sure is maintained properly. Last, just maybe 2 more sections here. One is, if you're going to be preparing for a career, any career, you want to be very concerned about what your online presence looks like. So there's some things that you could do and should do, like having a professional resume, having it in a PDF to make sure no one can crack into that, uploading the resume, make sure that everything is properly proofread so you can use tools like grammar and spell check to make sure it looks very professional, using appropriate social networks like LinkedIn in order to promote yourself for jobs, and being very cautious about how you use Instagram or Facebook or anything else that employers could look at. There's lots of interesting stories out there about people who have posted, maybe certain situations or pictures where they didn't look so professional, and they went for a job, and in the process of going through the interview process, the employer looks at these people's social media sites and sees a version of the person that doesn't look so professional. So I'd be very careful about what you post as you get older and you start to get to the point where you're looking for a job. Just be a little bit discreet in how you present yourself online, because it's available to everybody. Second one is just certification. So lots of opportunities to earn certifications. Certifications are kind of like going to a college course, but instead of going to the course and getting credit, you actually get certified by some type of external organization that says you know how to use a piece of software. So you can get certified here on Microsoft Office products like Word and Excel. There are other products that you can learn to use that might be important, so that if you had that particular set of skills and an appropriate certification, it might be easier for you to get a job and also to command a higher salary. So depending on the field of study you're interested in, you want to take a look at what certifications are needed for that particular organization, and some of them, again, that are more technical in nature. You earn those while you're in college or after your work, and while you're working, and those can usually help with advancement and probably additional earnings as well. Okay, so I think that's all we have for this particular section. That's true. And that ends module 1. So you're going to want to make sure you, again, do all the readings associated, sections 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. You can watch these videos if you find them helpful. Do the review questions, again, optional, if you find them helpful. And then go ahead and take that first test. And just see how it goes for the first time through. A lot of points to earn in this course. But if you kind of do those things, if you do the reading and maybe watch the videos and look at the review questions, you kind of do those things, you should be well prepared. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know. And I think that's it. Good luck on your first module test.